Eldermore is a beautiful town surrounded by rolling green hills and crisp, fresh air, known for its pristine beauty and, above all, for the famous bakery Sweet Memories. This bakery, run by an enigmatic man named Mr. Belmont, was home to the legendary collagen-infused cherry pies, a delicacy that, according to the townspeople, had the astonishing effect of preserving one's youthful appearance for decades. Tourists visiting Eldermore were amazed by the appearance of its residents. It didn't matter if they were 50, 60, or even 70 years old. Their faces were smooth, their skin radiant, their bodies strong and agile. The entire town seemed to be inhabited by people who had defied time, and all without exception praised Mr. Belmont's cherry pies. This peculiarity caught the attention of Edward Callahan, an investigative reporter known for his relentless pursuit of hidden truths. Fascinated by the rumors, he decided to visit Eldermore and taste the famous pies for himself. Upon arriving at Sweet Memories, Edward was immediately enchanted by the aroma that filled the shop. The sweet scent of cherries blended with spices and a hint of mystery wrapped around him. He ordered a slice of the renowned pie and, with the first bite, felt an explosion of flavor. It was, without a doubt, the best pie he had ever tasted. And just minutes after finishing his portion, he felt a tingling sensation on his skin. Looking at his reflection in the bakery's glass display case, he noticed that his fine lines seemed to have slightly faded. This unsettled him. Determined to uncover the truth, Edward began an investigation. He delved into the ingredients, the preparation methods, the bakery suppliers, but found nothing unusual. However, something about Mr. Belmont's demeanor struck him as odd. He always had a friendly smile, but his eyes were cold and calculating. One night, Edward decided to spy on the bakery. He hid behind the building and watched as Belmont left the shop and headed toward a nearby basement. He waited for him to disappear into the darkness and, seizing the moment, snuck into the basement. What he found chilled him to the bone. In dimly lit metal cages, there were children. Their faces were pale, their bodies weak. Tubes connected to their arms slowly drained their blood into containers labeled with dates and names. A metallic stench filled the air, mixing with the dull sound of blood dripping into glass jars. Edward stepped back, horrified. He understood the dreadful truth. The blood of these children was the secret ingredient. It was what granted the pies their power of eternal youth. Before he could react, a strong hand grabbed him by the throat and slammed him against the wall. "Curious, aren't you?" Mr. Belmont said in a calm yet menacing voice. "The things one does for beauty." Edward struggled, but the baker was surprisingly strong. Belmont smiled, dragged him back to the bakery, and forced him to sit down. He placed a slice of cherry pie in front of him. "Eat, eat and forget," he commanded. Edward shook his head, but Belmont forced his mouth open and made him swallow. The sweetness turned bitter on his tongue, but his body reacted instantly. He felt a surge of energy, as if he were rejuvenating from within. His mind, however, filled with terror. The worst part came when he realized he couldn't stop eating. No matter how hard he tried to resist, his hands reached for another slice. His teeth sank into the soft flesh of the cherries and the hidden blood within. Day after day, night after night, he was locked in a small room in the bakery with a table full of pies, consuming them endlessly. His body never aged, but his mind slowly fragmented. As months passed, Edward stopped resisting. His reflection in the mirror showed him growing younger each day, but his eyes became emptier. His thoughts gradually faded, replaced by an insatiable desire to keep eating. He lost all sense of time, of the outside world, of who he once was. All that remained was the taste of the pie in his mouth and the echo of distant laughter haunting him at night. Children kept disappearing. Eldermore continued to shine with the youth of its inhabitants, and Edward, trapped in an endless cycle of horror and pleasure, became part of the town's dark secret. He became one of Belmont's servants, another silent witness to the sin of immortality. Tourists keep arriving, tempted by the promise of eternal youth, unaware that with every bite, they are consuming the essence of those who will never see the light of day again. And in the bakery, a man with empty eyes and an eternally young face eats and eats, unable to stop. The cycle never ends. Eldermore stands firm, the bakery remains open, and Mr. Belmont continues to smile, ready to welcome the next curious soul who, unknowingly, will seal their fate with a single bite.